Publisher's note. The following pages were written by Sri Bhagavan's devotees in his sacred presence based on an old Tamil publication which has been commended by him. Happiness. Identifying the self with the body in order to seek happiness is like trying to cross a river on the back of a crocodile. When the ego rises, the mind is separated from its source, the self, and is restless, like a stone thrown up into the air, or like the waters of a river. When the stone or the river reaches its place of origin, the ground or the ocean, it comes to rest. So too the mind comes to rest and is happy when it returns to and rests in its source. As the stone and the river are sure to return to their starting place, so too the mind will inevitably, at some time, return to its source. Happiness is your own nature, hence it is not wrong to desire it. What is wrong is seeking it outside, because it is inside. Sri Ramana Maharshi. Unity. All including the world seen by you and yourself, the seer of the world, is one only. All that you consider as I, you, he, she, and it is one only. What you consider to be sentient beings and what you consider to be insentient, such as earth, air, fire, and water, is all one. The good which is derived by your considering all as one cannot be had by considering each as separate from the other, therefore all is one. To consider all as one is good for you and good for others as well. Therefore, all is one. He who considers I am separate, or you are separate, he is separate, and so on, acts one way towards himself and another way towards others. He cannot help behaving so. The thought, I am separate, others are separate, is the seed from which grows the tree of differing actions in relation to different persons. How can there be any lapse from righteousness for a person who knows the unity of himself with others? As long as the germ of differentiation is there, you will engage, even unawares, in the evil of differing actions, i.e., partiality. Therefore, give up differentiation. All is one only. If you should ask, in the world all things appear different, how can I consider all as one? Is there any way of gaining this knowledge? I shall tell you. In the same tree we see leaves, flowers, berries, and branches, different from one another, yet they are all one because all are included in the word tree. Their root is the same, their sap is the same. Similarly, all things, all bodies, all organisms are from the same source and activated by a single life principle. Therefore, all is one. O good man, see for yourself if the statement, all is one, is conducive to good or evil. As far as it is true that only that person can be righteous who regards himself as the same as he regards others, and regards others the same as he regards himself, how can any evil attach itself to him who knows himself to be others, and others to be himself? Tell me if there is any better way towards that which is good than the knowledge of unity. Certainly, other methods cannot lead to as much good as this one. How can anyone love others more than when he considers them to be himself? Regard all as unity, love all as unity. In truth, all is one. Who can share the mental peace of the knower of unity? He has no cares. The good of all is his own good. A mother considers her children's well-being to be her own well-being. Still, her love is not perfect because she thinks she is separate and her children are separate. The love of a sage who has realized the unity of all excels even the love of a mother. There is no other means of gaining such love than the knowledge of unity. Therefore, all is one. Regard the world as a whole, as your undecaying body, and that you are the everlasting life of the whole world. Tell me if there is any harm in doing so. Who fears to go the harmless way? Be courageous. The Vedas teach this very truth. There is nothing but yourself. All good will be yours. You become the good itself. All that others gain from you will be good only. Who will do harm to his own body and soul? A remedy is applied if there is an abscess in the body. Even if the remedy is painful, it is meant to do good only. Such will be some of your actions. They will also be for the good of the world. For that reason, you will not be involved in differentiation. I put it briefly. The knower of unity will act as one should. In fact, it is the knowledge of unity that makes him act. He cannot err in the world. He is God made visible. All is one. You. Who are you? Are you this body? If so, why are you not aware of the crawling of a serpent on this body when you are in deep sleep? So then, can you be this body? No, certainly not. You must be other than this body. Sometimes in sleep, you dream. There you identify yourself with someone. Can you be that one? You cannot be. Otherwise, what becomes of the individual on your waking? You are not he. Furthermore, you are ashamed of having identified yourself with him. Clearly, you are not the particular person. You are the one who stands apart from him. Recall the state of dreamless slumber. What is your state then? Can that be your true nature? Surely you will not subscribe to this belief. Why? Because you are not so foolish as to identify yourself with the darkness of ignorance, which obstructs you from the knowing the state you are in, distinguished from all things around, owing to the capacity to know. How can you admit yourself to be the same as ignorance, or blankness? Or how can it truly be your real nature? It cannot be. When you persist as the knower who knows, this state is the one of dense darkness, ignorant of itself. How can you be that which you, as subject, have experienced and condemned as object? Therefore you are also not the dark ignorance of deep sleep. You are other than that. When it is said that even the gross body is not you, can you be in any other thing which is yet further away from you? In the same way that you are not this gross body, you are not any of the objects beyond this body, nor are you the body seen as a dream within this body, nor are you the form of ignorance called deep sleep. You are distinct from these three forms and this world. These three forms can be reduced to two forms, namely a condition, state, of knowing another as object, and a condition, state, of unawareness of even oneself. The former includes the waking and dream states, where you exist, the cognizer of objects, whereas the latter represents deep slumber, where you are unaware of even yourself in the absence of cognition of objects. All your experiences are encompassed in these two conditions. Both of them are foreign to you. You are of a nature that is distinct from these two conditions. If you ask what that true nature is, it is called Turia, which means the fourth state. This name is used because it was the three states of your experience, waking, dream, and deep sleep, are foreign to you and your true state as the fourth, which is different from these three. Should the three states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, be taken to form one long dream, the fourth state represents the waking from this dream. Thus it is more withdrawn than deep sleep, also more wakeful than the waking state. Therefore your true state is that fourth one, which is distinguished from the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states. You are that only. What is this fourth state? It is knowledge, which does not particularize anything. It is also not without awareness of itself as awareness. That is to say, the fourth state is that knowing which is not conscious of any other as object, but also not unconscious of itself. He who realizes it even for a trice realizes truth. You are that only. What lies ahead for him who has gained the fourth state? It is not anyone's experience that one would remain forever in that state, that is, the state of no particular knowledge of objects. He who has realized the fourth state later wakes up in this world, but for him this world is not as before. He sees that what he realized as the unity called the fourth state shines forth as all this. He will not imagine this world existence as distinct from that unitary knowledge. Thus what he saw within, he now sees without in a different form. In the place of the differentiation perceived in the waking of old, he now perceives non-differentiation in essence everywhere. Now he is all. There is nothing distinct from himself. His eyes closed or open. Howsoever things evolve, it is for him ever the one state. This is the state of Brahman. This is the state of the natural presence. You are that true state. There is nothing beyond this state. The words inward and outward have no meaning for him. All is one. His body, speech, mind cannot function selfishly. Their workings will be of grace for the good of all. The fragmentary I is lost forever. His ego can never revive. Therefore he is said to be liberated, here and now. He does not live because his body lives, nor does he die because his body dies. He is eternal. There is nothing other than he. You are he. Who is God? He is grace. What is grace? Awareness without the fragmentary ego. How can one know that there is such a state? Only if one realizes it. The Vedas laud such a one as having realized God and become one with him. Therefore the true good which one can derive from the world and the true good which one can render unto it is to realize the state of non-differentiation. In fact, there are no states beside this. They appear in the state of ignorance. For him who knows there is only one state, and you are that. Who is God? God is he who transcended all that is seen by us. If it be asked whether by transcending this world there exists any relation between him and this world, then the reply is, not a particular here as unrelated to him. Then the question arises, what is meant by his transcending the world? The world comprises us and the objects seen by us. In other words, The animate and the inanimate together form the world. What shall we say of him who created these two groups? Of these two we hold the conscious being to be superior. All that we can apprehend is that he belongs to the highest order of being known to us. Our intellect is powerless to proceed further. Thus our Creator is superior to our power of apprehension. Our power to apprehend and describe cannot contain him, because he surpasses our intellect. He is said to transcend everything. Hence his name is Kadawul, transcendent being. Can God then not be made known to us? Not quite so. In a way, he is known to us. This much of his grace is enough for us. We have no need for all his greatness. He makes known so much of his greatness as will suffice to eradicate our misery. There is no reason for him to reveal more of his power than is necessary to remedy our defects in the present state. Thus, he is known according to our needs. Nay, he is in our grasp. However limitless, he is within a certain boundary known to us. What is that boundary which brings him within reach of our knowledge? It is that he is the distinguishing marks of being, consciousness, bliss. Being denotes that which is imperishable, that which exists forever. Should he become non-existent at any time, the question would arise, who is his destroyer? Who created him? Since the perishable nature of all leads to the inference that they are lorded over by one who is imperishable, this immortal overlord is God. His imperishable nature is being. Now, what is consciousness? By consciousness we mean having knowledge. This is absolute knowledge, and it is not like our fickle knowledge. Irregularity or mistake cannot stain its actions. It is knowledge, pure and simple. As for our knowledge, it requires activation by him, and manifests irregularity and error otherwise. Frequently he teaches us, saying, "Your knowledge is irregular and erring." How orderly are even the insentient objects of his creation! How an atheist was taught a good lesson when he derived the scheme of things, saying, "Why did he make the seeds so small for the banyan tree which is so big?" is known to many. Should an insentient thing come to have order and be useful, then a conscious agency is implied already at work. Can an inert, insentient thing ever do something which is possible only for unrestricted knowledge? Or can it be done by an inadequate knowledge? No, it can never be. Therefore, God is said to be consciousness also. Now, what is bliss? It is the state of being free from desire for another. It is peace which is ever full. Were he to desire anything, how could he be better than ourselves? How could we gain bliss from him? He himself would require another being to fulfill his desires. But who would think him to be so? The state of self-contentment is that of bliss also. Therefore, he is called bliss, Ananda. The three, being, consciousness, and bliss, are inseparable otherwise. They would become naught individually. Hence he is known in the form of being, consciousness, bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. Thus God remains not only transcendent, but also falls within the reach of our knowledge as being, consciousness, bliss. Only he who has gained the fourth state and sees all as one knows that the true state of God being, consciousness, bliss as it is. Words cannot express, nor the ears hear how such a one is united with God. It is a matter of realization, but there are ways and means for such a realization. They can be spoken of, learned, and acted upon. God can indeed be realized by us. He has no name. We give him a name. He has no form. We give him a form. Where is the harm in doing so? What name is not his? And what form is not his? Where is the sound of form in which he is not? Therefore, in the absence of true knowledge of him, you can name him as you please, or imagine him as having any form, so as to remember him. Your hope for his grace without any effort on your part is utterly fruitless. Should it be possible to have his grace without any effort on your side? All ought to be alike. There ought to be no reason for any difference. He has shown us the ways and means. Make effort and reach the goal. Be happy. Your idleness and selfishness make you expect his grace without your effort. The rule for all is for you too. Do not relax your efforts. God can be realized by effort only. There is an effort which excels all others. This may, however, appear inferior compared to devotion to God with name and form. Nevertheless, this is the superior worship. It is simply the love which you extend to all beings, whether good or bad. In the absence of such love to all, your devotion to God amounts to demeaning him only. Of what use are you to God? That you seek fulfillment of your desires from God without doing your duty towards the needy in the world must be attributed to the evil of selfishness. In God's presence, there is no use for such selfish people. The work that takes place in his presence are all unselfish. Therefore perceive that all centres are his, and that he is in all the centres, and thus worship him. God is truly bound only by superior devotion. As you go on ascribing names and forms to God, and showing love to all because you have understood all names and forms to be his, your mind will gradually mature. Just as the taste improves with the ripening of a fruit, so also you will recognize the waking of good and the waning of evil in you. As your mind matures in this way, it is not as if you go in search of him, the Master, or that he comes in search of you. At the right time the meeting will happen. All are moving in their own paths. Your fitness enables you to meet him, makes you trust him, moves him to teach you the right way, also makes you follow the instructions. That is the straight way to reach God, which is the fourth state. Follow that way, reach the goal, which is being consciousness bliss, which is the essence of all things, which is God. The way shown by the Master is final, straight, the way for unity, well tried, natural, free of fancy, and free from travail. When you are following the way shown by the Master, doubts will not arise. There will be no fear. Are not fear and doubt the characteristics of the ways of darkness? How can they meet you in the way of truth, shown by the Master? In this manner, the way will itself convince you that it is the right one. In that way, there will be no necessity at all for you to meet your Master and learn further from him. That way is common to you, and your Master and God has made it so. Before you, he had trodden that way. He has shown you the way, and you are following him. And how many more will there be who will tread that way shown by you in turn? Therefore, fear and doubt have no place in the way of truth. When once you have taken a step forward, you will never retract. The Master's help is only for the first step forward. You need not do anything for your Master in order to have that way of truth shown to you. Know him to be the messenger of God. sent down to disclose the way to the fit who have ripened by their efforts in either or both of the directions mentioned earlier. He is God, who sends this godly messenger, who you are ripe. Practice with faith during the period of ignorance is called Bhakti. The same with knowledge is called jnana. Of the two divisions of Bhakti, the one is worship of God with name and form, and the other is karma, which is love shown equally in all worldly affairs. Of the two divisions of jnana, the practice of the true way shown by the Master is called yoga, and the resulting state is called jnana. It is natural for all to believe in something which is not seen and then to find it. Those who do not believe can never find. Therefore the believers will gain some time and the non-believers never. You can believe at least for the simple reason that faith in God is not harmful. Therefore you become eligible for good to befall you. This world is meant only for creating faith in you. This is the purpose of creation. Have faith. You can reach God. Though you may not believe all that is said of God, believe at least there is God. This seed is very potent in its growth. That seed has such great might that you will not see anything but God. You will not even see yourself. Truly, God is all. Peace. What is peace? Although the world persists when a man is in deep sleep, does he have any cares concerning it? His mind is tranquil and refreshed. Should his mind be in the same degree calm and refreshed even when he is face to face with the world and is active therein? Then that is peace. Can the mind remain so even when the world confronts us? It depends upon our estimate of the world. The mind is more excited when one's own property is plundered than when another's property is similarly plundered. Of one's own things, the loss of one thing causes great concern than that of another. Why? Because our estimate of things is the cause of the degree of the delight of anxiety concerning them. Therefore, should one learn to regard all equally, the mind will be extremely peaceful. Or should all things be considered as our own and highly prized, then too there is no cause for pain. Why? Towards what will a man have regret? The mind which knows that there can be no scope for regrets must needs become tranquil. Also, when one understands that one has no claim for anything, or that everything is perishable, the mind will remain cool in serenity. Thus there will be lasting peace. If one looks on all as having the same value, peace is dependent upon one's attitude of mind. I shall now illustrate this. A man wakes up from a dream, his mind tossed about, happy or troubled, due to different values he placed on things seen during the dream. But on waking, his mind remained unaffected by all the happenings in the dream. It remained the same. Why? Because only now his mind has learned to value all the matters of the dream equally. He is not sorry for the cessation of the dream. He understands well that no dream is everlasting, and must end on waking. In the same manner, should a man be convinced that he cannot but wake up some time or other from the long dream of the world, his mind will be unchanging. It is the state of cool serenity that is the state of peace. This is not to say that his relation with the world will cease. Peace and serenity are only within his mind. His actions cannot but vary according to circumstances. The only change in him after the mind has become peaceful is this: his mind has known the truth and become unattached. Therefore it rests in peace. His actions, though changeful, will always be impartial. But the actions of others are changing and cannot be impartial. Thus the joyful coolness of his mind produces enormous good, not only to himself, but also to the world at large. Peace shows the way to right conduct. A man walks with a lighted lamp in his hand. Can there be any hostility between the light and the ups and downs on the way? There cannot be. But light and darkness cannot be together. The light chases away darkness. It discloses the ups and downs on the way and makes the man walk carefully. While he moves up, down, or sideways, it removes the cause of the vain complaints, such as, "That obstruction hurt my foot," or "This hollow made me slip." Similarly, after peace is gained, the state of peace makes the man neither hate nor antagonize the world. Rather, it dispels the darkness which conceals from our view the true nature of the world and its pitfalls. In the absence of the light of peace, which enables people to adjust themselves to varying circumstances, they condemn the world as full of misery, as they would complain of the obstructions on the road. Therefore, a man who has gained the utmost peace after knowing the whole world as a continuing dream should not be considered either unrelated to the world or unconcerned with its activities. He alone stands in effective concord with it. He alone is competent to be involved in action in this world. Thus peace is that which regulates one's duties. The concern of a man of peace with the actions of the world lies in rectifying them. Should even such a one feel fear before this world, what hope of reformation can there be from those who esteem it as real and fight among themselves to possess it? They are in the grip of selfishness that blinds the eye to impartiality. To guide the blind on the way, or treat blindness of the eye, one's eyesight must itself be good. Similarly, it is for him to reform the world, for he has already discerned his unchanging nature from the changeful nature of the world and has become peaceful. These persons cannot help serving the world. Can anyone be so hard-hearted as not to lift up a child when it slips and falls? So also, but for the wise ones who can rightly appraise the troubles of the world and help the people, because he has already withdrawn himself from the mind and the body. The sage feels no concern under the strain of service of his mind and body to the world, just as the life principle does not smart even when any number of vehicles pass over the corpse it has abandoned. He will not shrink from work or trouble. It is realization of true peace which bestows such courage and presence of mind. To all appearances, serenity appears meek and quite weak, but in action it surpasses all. Nothing has the tenacity and courage that it possesses. After all, success depends on these qualities. Even if Mount Meru should topple over, the incident may produce a mere trace of a smile in the man of peace, or it may even leave him unmoved. This state is helpful both for worldly and spiritual matters. True happiness in the world is his alone. True happiness of release from bondage is his alone. Peace means doing good to anyone in any manner. The obstacles to peace are several. They are meant to prove the man. When they confront us, we should be wide awake and protect the delicate flower of serenity of mind from their shadows even. If the mind flower be crushed, it will lose its fragrance, freshness, and colour. It will neither be useful to you, nor can it be presented to others, nor be worthy of offer to God. Know that your mind is more delicate than even a blossom. By this flower of serenity alone, all your duties to yourself, to others, and to God must be discharged. Let your mind remain fresh in serenity throughout. All blessings for the mind are verily that peace. Unremittingly worship the God of yourself with the flower of your mind. Let the children, the mental modes, watch this worship. Gradually they will learn to cast away their childish pranks and desire to delight like yourself. As they watch your peace, they themselves will recoil from their vagaries. Continue your worship patiently. Be not agitated, seeing the vagaries of the mind. On the contrary, let them become peaceful by your peace. All must receive peace. In short, the essence of all the Vedas is peace. Action. All action is God's. It is His design that each thing should carry out specific functions. By His agency, the insentient objects do their work, as also the sentient beings. All actions are His. If it be asked, all are doing their respective work by themselves, why bring His agency into this? We will first consider the sentient beings, and later on the insentient objects. We are sentient beings. Let us first see whose are our actions. We all desire a higher state and work for it, but our achievements are not uniform. Now the objective is the same, and so is the work, but why is there a difference in the results? Here God makes us understand that the action is His. Otherwise the condition of all must be alike. The difference in the conditions cannot be accounted for. Can there be anyone who does not wish to improve his position? Whatever their intention towards others, their intention towards themselves is surely honest. The conditions of people of the same intention are yet different. This is because all actions are God. If it be counted, all beings have the same intention, but their conditions, status, are different because their efforts are on a different degree, then the question arises, what is effort? It is not simply a mental image preceding effort. All these images have the same origin, namely intention, which is the same for all. Why then should the image preceding effort differ in each? Here too, God makes us see that all actions are His. If it is said that notwithstanding the same intention, the effort can vary according to individual capacity, the question arises, what is the source of this capacity? It is linked to the individual's body and mind. The environment may also affect it. One must indeed take account of all the factors before one makes an effort, but the body-mind impose on him certain limitations, which he is powerless to alter, and which in turn do not allow him to engage in action with all the efforts he would need. Therefore all actions are God. Again, if it is said that the body, the mind and environment will gradually be made equal to the task, it implies a present incapacity. This is to admit that all actions are God's. Now, is it for good or bad that persons do not gain their objectives? It is certainly good. Why? The majority are selfish. Judge for yourself if the success of a selfish person augurs for the good of the world or otherwise. You may ask, should not the attempts at least of the unselfish be entirely successful? Though to all appearances they may look unselfish, they are not free from blemishes. They arise due to their ego. If the imagined unselfishness has given rise to egoism, i.e. a sense of superiority over others, then there, too, God frustrates their purpose and teaches them, you are also like others, and I govern you. On the other hand, free from selfishness and free from ego is the representative of God, because God is ever shining forth in him. In other words, the cloud of ego does not exist in him to conceal God from him. All his intentions come out true. He is therefore one of true purpose, Satya Sankalpa. God shines forth directly in him. There is no darkness in him. Only he knows the divine purpose as it is. Through him, God fulfills the purpose of his creation. All actions are God's. If it is asked, is there not a single person of true intent? Why should not the world have all blessings in full? The answer involves a subtlety, which is that the sages who are aware that all actions are God's become intent upon making it known to others as well. There is no greater good than to know that all actions are God's and not our own. This knowledge contains all the blessings in itself. Therefore, the entire intention of the sages is to communicate to others God is as they realized him and his actions. Even so, they do not say, "Know God this very instant." They teach the ways and paths of the knowledge which they have walked on, and encourage humanity to walk the same way. That much only. They do not say, "Be emancipated at once." Why? Because this is not possible for the common people. Nor do the sages say to God, "Liberate these people at once," because the sages are free from ego and think God knows what he should do and does it. What is there for me to say to him? Thus they wish only to do their work without any claim over the fruits this work may produce. They have known that God alone dispenses the fruits of actions. They simply watch the course of events in the world and do their work, never thinking of creating a world order of their own. Why? To do so is a form of egoism. The creation is as it should be. Everything is in order. All actions are God's. Knowing that their actions are transcended by a higher power, how could they have vain thoughts that a certain thing should be this way only, and not that way? No, they could not. They would do any work as a duty. Their scriptures say, "Do work, but do not think of its fruits." Just as anger unconsciously overpowers a man, even though he is determined not to get angry, but to remain cool, so also the sages of true intent, Satya Sankalpa, may at times get shocked by the iniquities of the world and unwittingly think, "God, let that be made good." Then it would certainly happen so. This is the root cause of the extraordinary events in the world. Upheavals in the world are the result of a wish stealing into the mind of a sage. This is the law of nature. Who can change it? All actions are God's. Whatever takes place, it is the natural order of things. Also, it is just. Everything happens by his will alone. In truth, it is not wrong to think he makes the thief steal. Why? Because the thought, "It is he who now brings about for the thief a punishment which is adequate and just," will temper our degree of punishment to be free from excess. Moreover, the knowledge that all actions are God's result in our not bearing any ill will towards the thief. Although there is no ill will towards the thief, there is a dislike of theft. This is also the result of our knowledge that all actions are God's. How is this? Because the thief himself dislikes theft. Would he keep quiet if his belongings were stolen by another? He would not. Who can be unaware that good is right and evil is wrong? Therefore, the knowledge that all actions are God's will bring into the world an era of orderly conduct. Our knowledge does not extend further. We can repeat only what we know. We need not worry about what lies beyond our knowledge. This too is an act of God. Among the fruits of knowledge granted to us by God, the knowledge that all actions are God's is one such. We are powerless to ask God, "Why do you act thus?" All religions admit similar states of our powerlessness. Because of the fruits of our actions are not according to our desire. In other words, because our powers are limited, we cannot but say that all actions are God's. The law which applies to us applies to insentient objects also. The law applicable to us is no better than for the insentient. All is one. Even though some do not admit that all actions are God's, yet they admit their own incapacity. This itself is the act of God. Ego. Hey, ego, all the evils of the world are due to you. It is in order to crush you that kings make laws and the wise give instructions regarding truth. In spite of their efforts since time immemorial, alas, you simply go into hiding and reappear again and again. Can there be no end to you? Ye, it is surely approaching. Another ego has started to kill you. It is the universal ego, Brahma Aham Bhava, called I am Brahman. Hey ego, think not your enemy is of your common kind. You are perishable, whereas he is not. You are conceited as I, because you always differentiate as I, as you, and he. But your enemy is free from this I conceit. Why so? He harmonizes all differences, resolves all into himself. Moreover, you engender enmity towards him, because you see him as one arisen to kill you, but he has no enmity towards you. How is this? Because you are not to be found in his presence. He regards you as one of his limbs. It is your falsity in his proximity which falsifies and destroys you. He would not think of killing you because you are of no substance in his sight. Therefore, ego, he is an enemy to you, but you are not an enemy for him. Briefly put, you are your own enemy. Why? Owing to your greed, you flaunted yourself before the Great One, as you did elsewhere. Since then you are finished, therefore devouring you, making you a non-existent darkness. The I am Brahman, universal ego, rules as omnipresent light. O ego, the evils of your doing have no limits. You are not content unless you are exalted above others and others are lowered before you. Endless are your thoughts, such as, by what title shall I gain honour? In what form shall I appear elegant? Do others bow to me? Do others obey me in silence? Do others talk among themselves that no one excels me? Alas, how short is your life! And yet, how innumerable your thoughts and aspirations, and how much evil you do. You have deluded yourself that there is happiness in such ideas, in differentiating yourself from all others. This is not to your credit. Why not? Are not others also entitled to all these? What is your fractional share in a thing in common to tens of millions? Such being the case, do not desire in vain to rule over all. By your vain desire you bring about sorrow to yourself and others. Listen to my friendly advice. Truly speaking, he whom you regard as your mortal enemy is your true friend. He knows how to make you good and great. Surrender to him. This, I am Brahman, universal ego does not treat you as an enemy, but as your true benefactor. By no means can you now discover what he will make of you. In the event of surrendering yourself to him, however much I may speak of it, you cannot know. It is a matter of one's experience after surrender to him. Doubtless he will do nothing less than exalt you to his own state. Therefore, be not perplexed about your future. Directly surrender yourself. You can always turn away if joy does not overtake you from the very instant of surrender. Just as the drinking of milk is accompanied immediately with agreeable taste and ends with satisfaction of hunger, so also surrender starts with delight and ends with perfect bliss, which lies beyond the duality of pleasure and pain. Therefore, without doubt, your goal is the universal ego, I am Brahman conviction. What will be your new name after surrender? There is no name besides yours. The Vedas laud you, the world praises you. The essence of religious teachings is yourself. Then what is your form? All forms are yours. There is no form which is not yours. What is installed in the temples of worship is you. What is described in the Vedas is you. Festivities and celebrations are all for you. Now what can be your might? In your presence alone the world marches. Each is what it is because of you. Briefly said, all things glorify you and bear witness to your being. They are duty-bound to do so. You would not have even dreamt that such a state would be yours. Start at once. Abandon self-conceit. The universal ego, I am Brahman, awaits you. Do you intend to wake up from the dream or continue in it? How long will the dream images last? Be not idle, shake off your sleep, wake up. Witnessing your own mental images, why do you imagine in vain based on those images? Just find out who is it that sees the images. Do not delude yourself that you are any of these that rise and sink in you. The instant you wake up, you will know that your awakening is better than this dream. Get up. The universal ego, I am Brahman, waits to rejoice at your awakening. Fear not the cessation of your present dream. Once you awaken, you can see the dream all the better. You will not have to go through with it as you do now, in delusory drunkenness. You can witness your dream with great clarity and amusement. It will seem a joke and not a burden. In a dream, your mental imagery assumes shapes. Wake up. Wake up and know your dream for a dream only. Avoid the delusion which perceives a dream as the waking state. Know the dream as a dream. For doing that, you must reach the status of I am Brahman, the universal ego. I have spoken to you for your good and not in my self-interest. Should you not at least believe and act, and then turn away if there is no good in it? How can I help you? Even the advice of innumerable sages is to be rejected by you as useless. No state is higher than this. It is for your good, and through you for others as well, that you realize this truth. Show not your conceit even in this matter. Act. The universal ego, the I am Brahman, awareness is your own personage. O ego, see how you are a slave to all, and therefore suffer. How pitiable is your state. All are hostile to you, when you say for me only. All others contend, for me only, for me only. When you say, I alone am great, they protest. Why so? We alone are great. All are hostile to you. Owing to the troubles caused by them, your imagination increases 1,000,000-fold. Should you not gain grandeur by surrendering to the One? Then all your enemies will respectfully befriend you. If you but say, all these are yours, everyone becomes your friend surely. There is one who can grant you that magnanimity, and he is the I am Brahman. I shall say one word only. That is not owing to my egoism. It is one of my duties. I do not say this word merely for your or my good. It is said for the good of all. The truth is, Brahma, Amabhava, the universal, I am Brahman. Vast light of grace, transcendent compassion, peace, peace, peace. Om Tat Sat. On eternal life. Forgetting the self is death. Remembering it is life. You desire eternal life. Why? Because the present life, in relativity, is unbearable. Why is it so? Because it is not your real nature. You are, in truth, pure spirit. But you identify with a body, which is a projection of the mind, an objectified thought, and the mind, in its turn, has originated from pure spirit. Mere change of body is no good, because there is only a transfer of the ego to the new body. Moreover, what is life? It is existence as consciousness, and that is yourself. That is the true life, and is eternal, beyond time. Life in the body is conditioned life, but you are life unconditioned. You will recover your true nature as unconditioned life if the idea, I am the body, dies.